Well, those people are fools. You can't listen to those people.
I don't listen to those. I don't listen to many people,
Initially, a lot of people were dismissing your concerns, and they were saying that this object is nothing but a comet, and it's very normal. But then as it got closer and as we got more data, it seems like you're correct.
Well,
This is a very unusual object.
So Joe Rogan just defended Harvard scientist Avi Loeb against the establishment's coordinated attack on UFO research. This matters because Loeb has actual physical evidence of anomalous materials, yet mainstream science is trying to silence him. We're watching institutional gatekeeping versus legitimate scientific inquiry unfold in real time.
I want to get back to Mars because the structures on Mars, why would you think that they came from space debris rather than a prior civilization?
Because, Mars...
Let's take a look at it first. Jamie, will you pull up those images? So what's fascinating about the images is the right angles, right? Like that one that, that's good. Like that's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is.
And that doesn't strike me as something that landed there from space. It looks like a structure. It's too even.
Right angles are the smoking gun here. Nature creates curves, erosion, organic shapes. Engineering creates 90-degree angles. These Martian structures span hundreds of meters with perfect geometric precision. The establishment dismisses this as pareidolia, but they're ignoring basic geological principles that separate natural formation from intelligent design.
Because if there was any kind of life that was capable of building structures on Mars, it had to be a long time ago. Like when was Mars, there's a bunch of theories, maybe you can help me. Like what do you think is the predominant theory that explains the lack of atmosphere on Mars? Do you think it was an impact?
No, Mars is a less massive planet than the Earth, and therefore it has less gravitational grip on its atmosphere. And as to why the atmosphere was lost, there are various ideas. It may have to do with an eruption on the sun that removed it, or the magnetic field, the lack of a strong enough magnetic field to retain the atmosphere. We don't know for sure, but we know it happened about 2 to 2.5 billion years ago, at the middle of its life.
Can I ask you this? At 2.5 billion years, was it closer to the sun?
No. It was roughly at the same place.
The same distance?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And
then so 2.5 billion years ago, it lost its atmosphere.
Yes.
So if it did have life, that life would have to, so we would have to be looking at something that's literally 2+ billion years old,
yes.
The remnants of a structure, which also seems kind of unlikely, right?
The timeline destroys their argument completely. Mars lost its atmosphere 2.5 billion years ago. Our oldest human structures barely last 12,000 years. Any civilization capable of building kilometer-scale structures that survive billions of years possess technology we can't even comprehend. That's exactly why the establishment refuses to engage seriously.
And so as time is going on, you are being shown to be correct.
Well, we found more anomalies.
More anomalies. So this is not a normal thing.
Loeb predicted Oumuamua's acceleration, its cigar shape, the lack of comet tail. Every anomaly he identified proved correct, while the establishment insisted it was just space rock. Yet instead of acknowledging his vindication, they doubled down on attacks. Classic institutional behavior when evidence threatens their worldview.
What is it about your field in particular that you think motivates mudslinging? Like why are they averse to risk, and why are they not just averse to risk, but why they are attacking you for proposing what seems to me to be a reasonable alternative considering the possibilities given all the planets and stars that we know are out there?
With 2 trillion galaxies and countless potentially habitable planets, dismissing extraterrestrial possibilities is statistically absurd. Yet career protection trumps scientific inquiry. Peer review has become peer pressure. The system punishes curiosity and rewards conformity. Exactly what's happening to legitimate researchers like Loeb.
I think the problem with the scientific community is the problem with all communities. They're overrun with ego.
I agree. And as I explained at the beginning,
it's just human beings when they get to a position of any kind of authority, any sort of a position of respect and prestige, they want to protect that at all costs, and they want to keep everyone down who they think is getting unwarranted attention above them, like yourself.
Academic ego protection explains everything. When prestigious institutions invest decades building reputations around specific paradigms, contradictory evidence becomes existential threat. They're not defending science, they're defending their careers, their grants, their authority. Truth becomes secondary to maintaining institutional control over acceptable research.
It seems like your colleagues are contacting the New York Times to try to dismiss you.
I wrote to the editor at the time and said, look, if this is what you write about science, how can we trust what you write about politics?
Right. Yeah. So these objects, these very small molten droplets,
right.
What did you determine from them?
We found that 10% of them had a chemical composition different than solar system materials that were found before. And again, my colleagues, some of them, said, oh, they found coal ash, the burnt material from coal. So we said, okay, well, let's check. We identified 61 elements from the periodic table and showed that it's definitely not coal ash. And then they said, it's something else from the crust of the earth. We checked that, it's not from the crust of the earth. It's an endless battle to basically, they can throw mud without having access to the material.
I don't understand. This is a known meteorite. It hit Earth. You collected pieces of material from the scene where it hit.
Right.
And they still want to dismiss it.
Think about the absurdity here. A Harvard astrophysicist collects physical meteorite materials from documented impact sites, yet colleagues preemptively attack him in major media. This isn't peer review, it's damage control. They're terrified his evidence might legitimize research they've spent careers dismissing.
It seems like a coordinated attack. It seems like a bunch of people have a personal vendetta.
Yes.
Which is probably based on some petty jealousy, and also they just don't like people stepping ahead of them.
The coordinated nature proves institutional corruption. Multiple scientists simultaneously attacking a Harvard professor through media channels rather than academic journals. This resembles political opposition research more than scientific discourse. They're weaponizing reputation destruction to control narrative rather than evaluate evidence.
Okay, that's a factor of 13 less pixels than the Rubin camera has.
That's
observing
amazing.
the real sky. Now, Rubin will potentially, based on estimates, discover an interstellar object like 3I Atlas or even smaller every few months. So we are entering a new era.
Transmedium UAPs are Pentagon-confirmed reality now. Objects traveling 500 knots underwater violate known physics. Water resistance makes this impossible with current technology. Yet the scientific community ignores documented military evidence because it threatens their materialist paradigm. Denial becomes institutional policy.
When someone from the government tells you about biologics and this crash retrieval program, don't you want to be able to see that somehow?
Of course.
Did you ask if it's possible? Did you try to set up meetings?
David Grush testified under oath about crash retrieval programs and biological materials. A Harvard scientist should have immediate access to such evidence, yet he's completely excluded. The compartmentalization proves this isn't about scientific skepticism. It's about controlling information that could revolutionize our understanding.
Let me ask you this, though, because these are beliefs that you have, and they're not necessarily based on actual evidence, because there's not real evidence of other civilizations.
It's just a number game.
Right, but,
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not evidence.
Not evidence.
Right? So what do you think is the most interesting and compelling evidence of there being extraterrestrial life?
So
The evidence standard argument is backwards. We have Oumuamua's anomalous properties, Pentagon-verified UAP videos, physical materials from interstellar objects. The real issue isn't lack of evidence. It's the establishment's unwillingness to evaluate evidence that challenges their assumptions about technological possibilities.
I understand that it's unusual, but my question is, how many of them have been observed to form this hypothesis that it's unusual?
we're talking about hundreds of objects,
Hundreds.
at least hundreds.
But how many of them have come from interstellar? How many of them?
No,
Only 2 confirmed interstellar objects in human history, and both are anomalous. The establishment declares them normal based on statistically meaningless sample size. They're making definitive claims about interstellar object behavior with essentially zero comparative data. This is ideology masquerading as scientific methodology.
I think we could end it with that. It's a very perfect way of phrasing this whole thing. I'm fascinated by it all, and I'm really happy there's someone like you that's looking into this with such curiosity and that you're undeterred by all these haters.
This is real journalism versus institutional gatekeeping. While mainstream science silences dissent, platforms like this give researchers direct access to millions. The establishment's monopoly on acceptable discourse is crumbling. Independent media is becoming the only space for legitimate scientific inquiry on controversial topics.
Unlimited possibilities, especially if we developed artificial general superintelligence and it helps us. And it starts devising new methods of propulsion, new methods of, who knows, seeding the universe with other life.
Trump just signed executive orders on psychedelics research after texting with this show's host. That's unprecedented policy influence from independent media. If this platform can reshape drug policy, imagine its impact on space research funding and UFO transparency. We're witnessing the democratization of scientific discourse.